Good morning. This video is to demonstrate for administrators, either principal or assistant principal, or to lead teachers, the issue that was discovered with report cards and the fix for each school so that we are confident that the report card grade is accurate. To start off, I want to show you what has raised our level of concern and why we have delayed the report card. I am going to use a student at Wheatmore High School to demonstrate what we saw. When I go into this girl's record, when I'm at the quick lookup page, and you can see I'm in the year 13-14. When I'm in the year 13-14, it makes available to me last semester's classes at the high school. The same thing will be true at a elementary school or at a middle school. For the purpose of this video and this report card, we are going to focus on quarter 1 and quarter 2, and F1 if you have a semester course at a high school, a middle school, or in elementary. We have 3 elementary schools that have a F1 course. If I look at Spanish 2 for this child, I'll notice that when I click on the 85, this will bring up the grades for this child. And it shows me all of the grades that have gone into, all of the assignments that have gone into this grade book to determine this grade of an 85. At the top, last week we had added this feature to PowerSchool so that we would be more transparent and parents would be able to see how much a project is worth, how much a quiz is worth, and how much a homework is worth. When you look at this child's grades, you'll notice that she has down here on 11-8, she did a November participation rubric, and it was considered classwork. However, when you look up here for classwork, you'll notice that in her gradebook, classwork is not counting for any part of her final grade. She has 4 assignments and she has a 73. This 73 was not factored into this grade of 85. When the math was done, the 85 is coming from these 4 grades, and when we add in the 73, this grade goes down from an 85 to an 83. So once we noticed that this was a problem, we had spot checked and went through other high schools and elementary schools, and as we did, we found gradebooks were not set up properly, and there were 2 things that were wrong with gradebooks. One, we have assignments that are not attached to a category that is being weighted for the final grade, such as this. So when you see a dash in a child's quick lookup, you'll know that these assignments have not been weighted for the final grade. The other issue that we are still seeing is that some teachers have their gradebook set to total points. We cannot have our grades set to total points. All assignments must be out of 100%. And I will show you where all those fixes will take place. So the first report we need to do is we are going to go to the start page. From the start page, we're going to select System Reports, and this is all typed out in the PDF that was sent with this link. When I select System Reports, I then go over to Custom Reports. In the Custom Reports package, there will be a multitude of reports that will be helpful in assisting you throughout the year. But the one report we want to focus on is under Grades and Grading, and it is the Final Grade Setup Report. I will select the Final Grade Setup Report, which will bring me to this screen. I want to make sure that I'm in the 13-14 Semester 1 for course term. For store codes, these are the historical grades that were stored, so I want the quarter 1 grade. I want all departments, all courses, all teachers, And here's where I want to change from any setup to total points. What this will give us is it'll give us a list of every teacher who has a gradebook set up where their gradebook is set to be total points, which again is not what we have in Randolph County. We have to make sure that every gradebook is set to category weights for the quarter and to term weights for the final grade. So there will be a few courses where this is not important. For example, any course that is a community college course at the high school. These here are community college courses. We get a final grade. The data manager enters the final grade. The grade setup is irrelevant because we are putting in one grade. However, there are some classes where this needs to be set up properly. As I scroll down, you'll see that we have a few courses here, not many, and this is the norm for most schools, is that you're not going to have a whole bunch of these. But then you will see that I have a class that is set up to total points. So, as a principal or lead teacher, you can get this report. Over here, I can export this into an Excel. I can save this report as a PDF, or I can go ahead and print this. This will give me a list of teachers, and by the way, you can just click on teachers and it'll sort it alphabetically for you. This will give you a list of teachers for you to pull aside and talk to and make sure that they have their gradebook set up to category weights. You will do this for quarter 1, for quarter 2, and you'll also do it for F1. And I would print all 3 of those lists for you to have. Once we have figured out who needs to go into the gradebook and set it up, you will need to call the teachers in one by one or sit down with them. We have until Friday to make sure that we verify these. And when you go into a teacher's gradebook, what will come up will be their score sheet. Alright, it always happens this way. So I got to go back into the gradebook. PT Administrator. Okay. Sorry about that. There was a delay and I was logged out of the book while I was waiting. So once we get into the gradebook, the teacher's gradebook will default to the current term. I want to switch this to semester 1. I will see that the first thing I want to do is change my reporting term to quarter 1. Once I change it to quarter 1, I'm going to select the assignment tab. When I select the assignment tab, I want to click on the word categories. And all that this does is going to put every single assignment for quarter 1 in a list for me, grouped by category. So I can see she has classwork, homework, project, quiz, and test. And this is what the teacher will need to do to sit down and verify their grades. And again, it's recommended that they do it in front of a lead teacher, an AP, or the principal. Then they will go to grade setup, and they will click on the arrow to the right of Q1, and they will make sure they have classwork, homework, project, quiz, and test, because this means students had assignments in these categories and they were being counted in the final grade. They can click on quarter 2, you'll see the same thing, and then their F1 grade should be quarter 1 37.5, quarter 2 37.5, and X1, which is their final exam, 25. At an elementary school, you will see quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, and all you'll need to do is make sure that each one of those quarters is set up to category weights and that your F1 is 25% for each of the quarters at an elementary school. Then when I go to my next class, the teacher will have to look at the assignments, classwork, homework, project, quiz, and test. Same assignments as her other Spanish class. And when I go to grade setup and I click on quarter one, you notice classwork is missing. So this goes back to that first example I showed you when we started the video, that these assignments, these classwork assignments right here, did not count into the final grade. And the reason they did not count in the final grade, and the reason there was a dash next to the category weight, was because quarter one is missing classwork, quarter two is missing classwork. So the grade was not calculated based on all the assignments, just the assignments that had a category to them: homework, project, quiz, and test. So the teacher will need to go through each one of their courses that they have on the left-hand side for semester one, looking at the assignments, going to grade setup, selecting the quarter, and making sure that the categories in the assignments are reflected and represented in the category weights. These were errors that were made by teachers. So I don't believe this is anything done on purpose. It's just a new system, something different. You may get a teacher when you click here and it's already set to total points. If they click on quarter one and it's set to total points, the teacher will have to select category weights. This will be empty. They will select add a category. They choose from the categories that they've already pre-set up, established. They select them, they comes over here, and then they create the weights. This should have been done in quarter one back in September. Once all this is done, you can go back into PowerSchool, and when you're back into PowerSchool, you can start to select students. When you select students, let's see here. When we select a student, you would then come over to the grade, click on the grade, and what you'll want to see up here is that every category that's in here will be represented up here. You want to make sure that there is a weight for every one of these categories. When you see that there is a weight, I go back to my quick lookup screen. I'll go to the next grade, and I will see again every category on my left hand side has a category weight, and this will tell you that that teacher's grade book for that course has been set up properly. This is your double check. If the teachers are sitting down next to you and showing you everything I just showed you up to this point, all of these will be in, and when we go live eventually and parents come to this screen because they have access to the screen, they will see the category weights, all of the assignments. And the one thing I want to point out to everybody is, once we go live, eventually parents will be able to see at the bottom of the grade book when the teacher last updated their grade book. So I think it's important for teachers to know that when they are updating the grade book, will be displayed to parents. So let me go through the steps real quick one last time. The first thing you'll do is you will print a report. You will print your final grade setup report from the grading. It'll be in the custom reports, final grade setup. Once you find all the teachers who have their grade books set up to total points, you'll work with them to switch them in their grade book. They will log into their grade book. They'll come to their grade setup, select quarter one. When they do so, it'll either be, this will be selected, they'll have to change it to category weights, and they'll have to put down the weights and the category assignments here. If they're already set up properly and they're on the category weights, you'll need to have them come into their grade book, show you each class, the assignments that they have, the categories that are included in that quarter, and then they'll have to go to grade setup, select the arrow to the right, and show that those are in there. Once teachers have verified, the final step into this process will be for them to come up to tools. They will select tools and they will recalculate final grades, update teacher score codes, and select OK. This won't happen to them. This is happening to me because I don't have the rights, and no one has the right except for the teachers to adjust their grade book. If you have any questions or need any assistance, please call Student Services. We will help you as best as we can and make sure that we get report cards out on time. Thank you and have a great day.